the Gayly Planet, the final Fronqueer. These are the voyages of Lark and Jesse. Our continuing mission, to provide you with humorous yet ruthless analysis, to seek out queer takes and explore every gay subtext, to boldly pod what no one has cast before. Hello, and welcome to the Gayly Planet, the final Fronqueer, a podcast where two queer nerds talk about Star Trek The Next Generation. I am Lark Malachi Gray.
And I am Jesse Blount, and today we are talking about episode 5 of season 3, The Bond.
The Bonding.
Okay, nope, I just had it wrong on my notes. Okay, and today we are talking about episode 5 of season 3, The Bonding. We
sure are. Everybody strap in. We're going to talk about grief. It's going to be great.
Yeah, if us talking about grief or an episode about grief is not a thing that you want to listen to, you should skip until next week, which will hopefully be a much more silly episode, I'm sure.
Yeah, it is a beautiful episode in a lot of ways. I'm sure it'll be a good discussion, but yeah, I'm sure it's going to be pretty heavy. I think I have like 3 funny notes, but we always surprise us with our ability to be funny while talking about heavy stuff. But yeah, I won't blame you, listeners, if you decide that this isn't one that you want to listen to. That's okay. Yeah, otherwise, if you haven't left us a 5-star review, please go do that. Written reviews really help in the places that you can leave those. And also, if you're watching this on YouTube, like, subscribe, comment, whatever the things you have to do on YouTube, tell your friends, etc. Spread the word.
Yeah, keep us on in the background so our views increase. Whatever you need to do, whatever helps. I'm sure we are in maybe a good podcast to fall asleep to. So
yeah, I mean, we do only have like 5 episodes out on YouTube so far, but we have like a lot more on the podcast app. Someday the rest of them will be up in audio format on YouTube as well, but our tedious taskmaster is out sick at the moment, so that's going to be a while before that happens.
Future goals.
Yeah.
Yeah, we also have other podcasts that you can listen to wherever you get podcasts that are not on YouTube. Check it out in the show notes because we are very charming and funny, and I'm sure you would like to listen to us while you wash your dishes or commute or whatever you do when you're listening to podcasts.
Hell yeah. Links to everything in the show notes. So now I'm going to cut in. No, I'm not going to cut in. I'm going to do my summary. Do I remember what happens in this episode? Yes, I do. Okay. So in this episode, Worf is leading an away mission on this planet, and there's an explosion. No one knows why. The archaeologist dies. She has a kid on the ship, and so everyone's like, and his dad is dead too. So he's an orphan now. Everyone's really going through it. It's basically an exploration of grief. How is everybody handling this? How is the kid handling it? How are all of the bridge officers handling it? Wesley and Picard are both triggered about Wesley's dad dying. How are they handling it? It's very beautiful. 25 minutes in, it becomes a horror episode.
Sure does.
Out of fucking nowhere.
It's so wild.
We spend 10 full minutes having a horror episode, and then that abruptly ends, and we're back to a grief episode where we see Worf and the kid processing the fact that Worf is, in some abstract way responsible for the kid's mom dying. They have a bonding, hence the title. It's very sweet. I don't know if we ever see this child again.
We do not.
That's not the point. The end.
Yeah.
I guess I should say what the horror episode part is, which is that an alien from that planet, like all of the aliens, there were energy beings and physical beings, and the physical beings were like terrible, and they had so much war that they wiped themselves out, and the energy beings still feel like bad about that. I don't know, because they couldn't interfere or something, and so they're like, oh God, someone died on our planet, and we feel really terrible about it. So what we are going to do is like create a recreation of this child's mother and try to take the kid back to the planet to like take care of him to make up for our sense of responsibility for her death. And everyone's like, what is this ghost? alien situation, and it's very spooky, and then they convince her to leave, and she does. So
yeah, this is really quite the roller coaster of an episode. That regard.
Yes, Captain Jesse.
This is the captain speaking. The real science fiction is dudes talking about their feelings to solve conflict.
Oh, yeah. All right. Welcome to The Bridge, where we talk about everything that doesn't go anywhere else.
I know I keep talking about this, but if you're on an away mission, I would be like, can I have some body armor? Can we get like a chest piece to helmet? Like literally anything but our incredibly thin jumpsuits. Eye protection, it's not literally anything.
I know. You know those like inflatable bike helmets?
Yes.
I feel like it's the future. They should have something like that, you know, because those things go off in a fraction of a second. We could totally have something in their suits, like airbags in their suits, that like a bomb going off in front of you just like activates essentially a force field.
Yeah, no, exactly. You can't have a cool hat that also automatically becomes like face and neck shield. Like, y'all are on a starship traveling through space.
Yeah, I know. Okay, so as we'll talk about later, Data is like processing grief. Not the point of this. He is figuring out, he asks Riker how well he knew Lieutenant Astor, the woman who died. And Riker grins and is like, we spent some time together.
Oh, yeah.
And then kind of like gets sad and is like, I didn't know her very well. But I was like, this man has like spent some time with like every available person on this ship. I swear to God.
I mean, honestly, would. Like,
yeah.
Literally would not blame anyone for doing that. Also, sorry, how many people are on the ship again? Like 2,000?
Yeah, but that includes like spouses and kids and stuff.
I feel like your dating pool in the Enterprise is probably shockingly small, even with all of those people.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I just love that they put that in there.
They sure did.
They're like, don't worry, her husband is dead, but like she at least had a good lay one time in the last 3 years. So
yeah, she at least got some, which is really, you know, what a lot of us can only hope for before our death. Yeah. I don't know why this brought me so much joy, but we see Jeremy watching a home video on his tablet, and I'm like, wow, this is the first time they're using their technology the way that we also use I don't know. I'm like, oh my God.
Oh, yeah. No, that's a really good point.
It's funny because there's like, here is a stack of pads that have information on it versus it being just one thing. And like, you know, again, this is the inspiration for the iPad. So it's just funny to me to see it, how we use that happening now. Anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So actually, speaking of him watching that home video, this is just like a small thing. It's not like funny like most bridge things are, but everyone is honestly doing a very good job of like dealing with this child and like the things that he's going through and whatever. But he is alone in his quarters for a good chunk of this episode, which I did find baffling.
Like, right. There's not babysitters or even like teachers that could be like, can you just like hang out with this class for like something, literally
his friends'
anything.
Parents, like surely he has friends at school and he could be at someone's house. It's not like he has to be in his quarters alone until he gets to Earth to live with his aunt and uncle. Like, what are you guys doing? I know that it was necessary for the plot. I understand that. And honestly, I feel like I might even be okay with it if we had just had a scene where it was like he convinced them somehow that that was what he wanted, you know?
Yeah.
But it just seeming like they just left him in there is like, what, you guys, don't do that.
They could have left him in 10-4 with a milkshake and for Guinan to keep an eye on him, like literally anything.
I know. Yes, what do you have next?
Okay, actually I don't have any more things here.
Okay. I just want to say, so when this episode becomes a horror episode.
Oh yeah, I have it. I say this is like a haunted house episode a little bit, actually.
Yeah.
For like 15 minutes.
Yeah. For a very short amount of time. But so listeners, what happens? There's like a beam from the planet. Troy is like getting a vibe. You know, we're on the bridge with her. She's like, there is something on the ship. She is freaked the fuck out. Ominous music starts. Everyone's like, all right, yellow alert, like security, scour the ship. And then we like cut to Jeremy alone in his quarters watching home videos of his mom. And like over his shoulder, out of focus, the apparition of his mother wearing the same clothes that she's wearing in the video, like comes out from behind a wall. It is actually terrifying. I am going to have nightmares as a result of that scene. Like, it was so scary. And like, maybe it's because I watch Buffy or whatever, but I was like, she's gonna look dead. Like, this is gonna be so bad. And then obviously she doesn't, which is great, but that doesn't take away from how utterly unnerving the introduction of the horror section is.
Yeah, it really is. I was literally just like, I'm sorry, wait, what?
Yeah.
And then I was just like, right. And then every time you would cut, it's like, oh, now your quarters is your old home on Earth. And you're just like, this is some really, you're being haunted, kid. I'm sorry. Like,
yeah. The vibe was very, what is that episode of Buffy season 7? Dead Things?
Yes.
The one where like Joyce is like back and dead and like haunting Dawn, and then the Cassie kid is...
Oh, right. That's not Conversations with Dead People.
Is it? Yes.
Because we get Cassie and we get Holden.
And then Dawn is at home having like a little literal horror movie in her house. That it had that vibe.
Yeah. I feel like I'm always like, I love the Holden and Buffy part, and the rest of the episode I'm kind of like, this is kind of intense.
Yeah. Yes.
Anyway, yeah, I feel like I was thinking more of the body with this episode just because everyone's sort of mediating on grief. Yeah, this honestly could have been a Buffy episode.
That is an episode of Buffy that I do not watch, for the record.
Oh, no, I watched it once or twice, and I was like, I'm good. I'm so good on this. This is too real.
Totally. Yeah. This is not what I'm here for. Thank you.
Realism in my fantasy. Hell no.
I know, it was so funny when we were talking to Ian and he was like, yeah, Beer Bat is no like work of art like the body. And I was like, who wants the body? Like, I didn't say that because I was not ready to have that conversation. And we were on a timeline, but like...
It's an excellent episode. I just can't personally watch it.
Right. No, I'm not saying it's bad, but like, if you're like, Lark, here are two things. Which one would you like?
Beer Bat every time, it turns out, actually.
Yeah, totally. Which one are you giving an award to? Like the Lark Award, it's going to Beer Bat. It's never going to the body. So. Oh, anyway, okay. Welcome to 10 Forward / wait, I forgot what the name of that section is now. / the Ready Room, where we talk about characters and dig into stuff, because the digging into is grief and the grief is characters. So it doesn't make sense to try and split it up.
Let's start off with Worf, I think, who...
Yes, definitely.
Besides Jeremy and Wes is like the third person who we're getting a lot of character and also grief and how that plays out here. And I feel like it's like really understandable for both Worf as a person, but also Worf as our, head of security, how angry he is about how fucking random and bullshit this whole situation is,
Yeah.
Like, it's so random. It's so pointless. And I was a little bit thinking about it. Since Klingons are tougher than humans, if it actually had been Worf, he might have survived whatever it was that happened to this human lieutenant, because humans are more fragile than Klingons. And so I kind of feel like, for me, I think he's having a lot of intense feelings because of just, if he like, it should have been me, because he would have
like an extra helping of survivor's guilt, because he's like, not only did I survive when she died, but like if it had been me, I would have survived anyway and we would all be alive. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, he would have been in like sick bay for like an afternoon probably, and then right as rain. And now he's like, someone that I know is dead and I feel responsible, and also this like double helping of survivor's guilt.
Yeah.
Which I think makes sense for sort of his actions this episode, because I do think Troy is right when she's like, maybe cool it a bit. And Worf is like, no, I'm gonna do this right now. Which I'm like, your heart's in the right place, but I don't know if this is what Jeremy needs at this exact.
Yeah. Lend context to.
So Worf is like talking to Troy. She's doing her job. And he's like, I would like to do this Klingon bonding ceremony with Jeremy because now we're both orphans and I feel responsible. And Troy is basically like, maybe you should give him some time to like grieve before you approach him with his sort of, you know, kind of heavy, like, let me adopt you, you know, kind of energy.
Yeah.
Which Worf doesn't listen to, and then I think basically right after goes to Jeremy's quarters to be like, I would like to do this ceremony with you. Like, it's a shame that your mom had a dishonorable death. And Jeremy's just like, what the fuck? It's kind of hard I found it kind of hard to watch, obviously, because I'm like, oh, Worf, I know that your heart is in the right place, but this kid is really not ready to hear what you have to say, and especially because Jeremy has a lot of anger towards Worf to be like, why wasn't it you, you know?
Yeah. And I think even at the end when they do the ritual, I just kept being like, is this for Worf or for Jeremy? Because it really felt like it was for Worf, you know, like this was a way for him to absolve his guilt. And I don't know how much it really did for the kid, you know? Yeah. Which didn't feel great to me. I feel like both the way that Jeremy and Wes were treated in this episode, Jeremy mostly just by Worf, but Wes kind of by everyone. I was like, you guys are not being super respectful of the fact that they are, you know, still kids in a lot of ways. Yeah. And like the way that, especially, no, I was going to say for Wes, but for both of them, because Jeremy's dad already died, like the way that grief sort of like freezes you in a moment in time, like the expectations that are being put upon them and the things that are being asked of them felt kind of inappropriate several times.
I mean, I do think a lot of this is for Worf to sort of deal with his guilt. I think you're totally right. I don't know. I guess I feel like by the end, especially since we don't really see any kind of funeral happening, I wonder if maybe having some kind of ritual is useful for Jeremy anyway.
I think a funeral probably happened. It just wasn't the point of this episode.
But yeah, I don't know. I guess it is. I feel like it really could go either way, I guess, if this is helpful for Jeremy or not. Because it's like we don't ever see him again. So it's sort of like he's like kind of a plot point, unfortunately.
Yeah. I also, on the subject of Jeremy, when the episode circles back around to being about his mom's death and not being a mini horror plot, I felt like the whole scene where they basically were like, Jeremy, you must be so mad at Worf, felt weirdly forced. Like they were... Because we didn't spend any time with him doing anything that felt like he needed to be convinced of that information. You know, it wasn't like he was trying to be close with Worf or like pretending like he wasn't upset with Worf. Like they had one very stilted conversation and then it was like, I don't know. They really lost me basically in the last 10 minutes when they came back to, once the alien left, or while they were convincing the alien to leave. Yeah, I just felt like they lost the plot a little bit.
I feel like there's some very dubious child psychology happening here, or like lack of legit child like psychology happening. Cause like, yeah, Jeremy's having really a true mindfuck of a day, And yeah, I feel like, while I do think that having Wes talk to him was probably the most useful thing that's happened to him this entire episode, it does seem like adults trying to figure out what is useful for a child who is grieving, because everyone's just like, what do we do?
Yeah.
In a way that feels very much like, we're trying, but I'm like, ooh, you guys are trying, but not quite making it there.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it just feels like they're telling him how to feel in a way that felt really weird. I don't know. Also, Can I just say, like with Sarjenka, I was like, I actually think this might be a totally ethical and justified use of your mind wipe technology, because like this child does not need to carry the memory of this alien pretending to be his dead mom. This will do not. If you took this out of his brain, no harm will have been done to him, and in fact, the rest of his life will be significantly better than if you didn't take this out of his brain. Like,
yeah, this poor fucking kid, honestly.
He's going to be fucked up for the rest of his life because of this. It was already bad enough that his parents are both dead, but then having this alien come in and do this, like,
on the day his mom dies. This is not been a week.
All the same day. I was like praying that this was over the course of like a week, because they were like, he's pretending to be brave, but he needs to grieve. And I was like, it's been 12 hours. What the fuck are you talking about?
I assume this was all the same day, because there does not seem to be any kind of, I don't get any indication that like any more time has passed by like, no one mentions it. So I assume this is the same day, which is honestly even more of a mindfuck for this kid.
Totally.
So yeah, this guy's going to need a lot of therapy.
Yeah, hopefully from someone who specializes in working with kids and not the Enterprise bridge crew,
Yeah, again, Troy's, they're all trying, but yeah. I will say that, is this our first instance of Picard not being a complete weirdo to a child?
It is our second instance, if we're not counting Wesley, obviously, because we do, in the episode where all the kids get kidnapped by those people who like can't reproduce because of radiation or whatever, Picard is chill with the kids when he goes to rescue them. But that was like season 1, so it's been a while. He is really good with Jeremy, though, if that's your point. Like, he does a really good job when he's like, no one is alone on the Starship Enterprise ever. Oh my god.
I know. Like, he does such a good job for what is probably one of the worst parts about being a captain on the Enterprise, which is saying a lot. There's a lot of shitty parts to his job. This is probably one of the top 5 worst.
Totally.
Is having to and like this, I feel like once he goes to his quarters and it's like Picard and Troy and Jeremy's probably like, something as fucked up has happened. Why is the captain of the ship here?
Yeah.
That's why he's already so stoic. He's like, I already can sense the vibes are off.
Totally. Yeah. And like, he's already had this conversation once, I feel like he probably is. He's like, oh God, I know what it means when adults look like this,
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I'm not in trouble. So yeah. What do I want to do next?
I would love to talk about Wesley, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's actually next on my list.
I just want to say, like, in regards to this being one of the hardest parts about being a captain, that is one of the things, like, early things that we have Wesley ask is, like, Riker, how do you get used to it? And Riker's like, you hope you never do. And I was like, that is such a good response. Is like, the day you get used to it is the day you should probably turn in your pips, man.
Yeah, obviously, 100%. And yeah, I do love that Riker specifically tells that to Wes, because we get a lot more of Wes's grief about his dad, who, listeners, he dies before the series starts. We don't ever meet him, so we're only ever getting him from like Wes and Crusher's reactions. And I really am not tolerant about people being like Wes is a terrible character, but especially this episode, like Will Wheaton is crushing it, pun intended. Like, just like Wes's sort of palpable uncomfortableness the first 2/3 of this episode, where he's like, I know what Jeremy's going through, but I don't know if I want to talk to him about this and talk about my own grief, because it's going to stir up all these obvious feelings.
Right. He's like, I'm already triggered. Like, why are you trying to make me be a therapist on top of that?
It's like, this is literally what the adults are I almost said getting paid for. This is what the adults in the ship are for.
Yeah.
But because Wes is such a good egg, I don't know. I'm glad he talks to his mom first. That is maybe my favorite part of this episode.
I really struggled with that part. Can we talk through that? Because he goes in there. So listeners, Wes comes into her office. He's just like, hey, and kind of like sits down on the desk. And where are my notes? Sorry. Yeah. So it's like very obvious that he has like come in to like talk to his mom, which I believe it was the last episode where she was like, how do I be a mom to this kid who maybe doesn't need me anymore? And he's like, hey, can you like be my mom? I'm like having really big feelings. And she's like, oh, hey, you should go talk to Jeremy. Like basically just spends like 5 minutes like pressuring him to do this thing that he's very clearly like, I don't know if I want to do that. I don't know if I'm comfortable with this. And then she's done pressuring him and she just turns around and goes back to work. And he has to like go over and bodily put himself in front of her to be like, I actually need to talk to you right now. And I was really disappointed in her about that.
Interesting. I thought that felt sort of realistic to her character as being like workaholic first, mom second, kind of. And I feel like that's kind of I think at least in this specific episode, we're right, she has been gone for like a year. And like, I think this is sort of, I felt that awkwardness was sort of like, how do I talk to my teen? There's going to be sort of, I don't know, friction, I guess. But they get past that, which is, I think, the part that I like, really like, and have a sort of open, like emotionally open conversation, which I feel like, at least in these sort of early seasons, I feel like Beverly Crusher is not a very emotionally open person, you know? And so to sort of have them have this moment where they're talking about, you know, Jack Crusher is like, I don't know, really lovely, I think. Even if it like, yeah, like initially it's just like, why, he is clearly so uncomfortable about doing this. Can you like lay off him?
Yeah. Workaholic first, mom second does not excuse not showing up for your kid when he's like coming to you in this very vulnerable way. Like, she just doesn't make he has to force the space for them to have that conversation in a way that I really disliked. And it's like, yeah, you're going through something, but like part of being a parent is being like, I'm going through something, but like my child needs me right now, you know?
Yeah. I'm not saying it's like a good thing. I just feel like it feels realistic, even if realistic in the way where it's like you could have done better initially, you know?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I just hate that everyone is like pressuring Wesley in this way to like go talk to him.
Yeah.
He's 16, 17, however old he is right now. Like that just shouldn't be his responsibility. Like if he offered, that's totally different. But like all these adults being like, hey, you're the only kid we know with a dead parent. Will you go talk to this kid? It's like, this is so inappropriate. What are you doing?
And I especially think that it is really unfortunate because, I don't know, I feel like all of the like gifted child memes to burn out neurodiverse adults memes are, I think there's one thing that's sort of like reminds me about Wes, which is incredibly at his intellectual level is real high. Like she is part of the engineering team in a way where it's just like, you're 17. But like, I think people forget that he's still a 17-year-old with like sort of working on what that means emotionally to be a person, to be an adult. And I think that a lot of people, there isn't, besides like maybe like Riker, we don't necessarily see people kind of like invested in Wes's sort of emotional growth.
Yeah.
And so I feel like we're seeing this sort of play out here, which I feel like it makes sense to me that everyone's being like, oh, Wes, you should do this because Wes is a very competent ensign. But they're not thinking about that this 17-year-old boy still has a lot of feels about his like losing his dad, which is, I don't know, like 5 years. Like obviously like losing a parent is not a thing you're going to get. Like you grow around the grief. It doesn't really fade necessarily.
Right.
But he hasn't had enough time to grow the rest of his life around this sort of large grief of losing a parent.
Yeah, and he is, I do want to say, the first thing that we see from him after Lieutenant Astor dies is this incredibly empathetic response towards Jeremy, and then also having the space to feel empathy for Picard, to be like, that must be so hard for him. And like, obviously this is a thing he spent a lot of time thinking about because Picard is the person who told him that his dad was dead. And like, now he has to work with him and work under him and forgive him, you know, as we talk about later in the episode. But like, we learn that part of that for Wesley is thinking about it from Picard's point of view, which is incredible. That is so mature. Like,
yeah, Wes is a great kid.
There are grown-ass adults who do not have the emotional capability to be like, what would this be like for the person delivering this message, you know?
Yeah.
And I was just so impressed with him for that, which made it like really hard when he was really, I feel like, trying to set boundaries with all of these people to be like, I don't want to do this. And it's like, he knows himself clearly well enough to say, this isn't something I'm comfortable with. And everyone was like, get in there, kiddo. Like, you're the only one to do this.
Right. It's like there aren't, I mean, I guess we have Worf trying in his own way, which is the only other person presumably they know who is an orphan, which,
well, Riker's mom died when he was a little kid, like,
but he still I mean, I guess he's a shitty dad, but I guess it is probably different. But it does seem like presumably there was someone else to pull in besides, again, 17-year-old Wesley Crusher.
It seems like, as they talk about a lot in this episode, like, this is part of being in Starfleet. Your parents die, just comes with the territory, you know? And it seems like on a ship like the Enterprise, where there are a lot of kids and there's like a school and stuff, they would have like a peer counseling program, you know? Like, where are those kids? Because surely there are high schoolers who that is one of the things that they do extracurricularly is help other kids whose parents die, you know?
Yeah, it would be very weird to have a starship this big and not have a grief counselor, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, Troy can only do so much.
Oh, yeah. And like, I'm sorry, can you imagine being an empath in the way that she is an empath and like trying to counsel all of your friends through this? Like, because we see when they're like, what is that on the planet? She's like, I can't filter out all of the crew's feelings right now. So it's not just like she's feeling what the person she's in the room with is feeling. She's feeling everything the entire fucking ship is feeling, and she's trying to do one-on-one counseling right now. Like, that is, again, this should not be part of her job. What is up with that alien should be the entire extent of her responsibilities on this ship.
I know, because, you know, I'm glad you brought that up, because I was kind of thinking, like, man, I hope she has some kind of, like, mental shielding meditation, like, wear some giant crystals sort of situation. But you're right, the fact that she said that she's overwhelmed by the crew's feelings sounds like some kind of awful background noise always you can't turn off, you know? You can't, like, put in, like, headphones or earplugs for. I'm just like, how? I mean, maybe Betazoids, you learn how to deal with this as, like, a kid, because I'm just like, how do you not go insane.
Yeah, totally. Totally.
I do feel like as part of the sort of horror part element of this episode is Troy is kind of like having a witch aboard your ship. Like, she was literally like, the vibes are off. And the vibes are off because there's a ghost aboard. And I'm like, that is the most witchy shit.
Yeah.
Is this like what is happening here? Which is why she needs like a chunk of tourmaline or smoky quartz the size of a child's head to like wear. Because
I have smoky quartz in my hands right now.
Smoky quartz, everyone, is good for blocking bad vibes.
Yeah.
Which I feel like Troy clearly needs just a neck piece of for having to feel everyone's feelings, you know, or sense them, however her abilities work.
Yeah.
We haven't talked about Data yet.
Yeah, Data and Picard are the last two people that I have.
All right. Speaking of people with good hearts, I love the interaction between Data and Riker, where Data's like, why is everyone asking me if I knew Lieutenant Astor? Like, does it really matter that much? Which is an excellent question, I think. And a good... Yeah,
how well did you know her is specifically what people are asking to, like, gauge the depth of his grief. And he's like, what is this question?
Like, I feel sad because someone is dead. Like, you know?
But he recognizes that he doesn't feel the same way as he felt when Yar died. You know, he's able to comprehend once Riker explains it to him, like, what this question is code for, I guess. Sorry, I know I just cut you off. I love so much that he broaches that by testing out asking the question. He's like, all right, this is what everyone's asking me. I'm going to do the asking to see if, like, Riker's response helps me understand. And then it clearly doesn't. So he's like, okay, I just have to ask, like, Riker, what the fuck is this question? Why are we all asking each other this question?
I know. I also just love that he still thinks about ER. I'm like, oh my God.
I know.
Yeah. And like Riker's response that, like, if only we all felt this deeply about people dying that we don't know that we did, that history would be a lot less bloody. And I'm like, yep, it sure would.
Yep.
It's called having empathy and compassion. I mean, I'm like someone who cares too much, unfortunately. Just like, and by caring too much, I mean caring to the point where it's like I feel physically ill sometimes when I think about the world that we live in.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Data's also a great person. That's all.
Yeah. I mean, as someone who has really struggled with understanding a lot about the way that grief works, I like really love having Data on screen sort of asking these questions. We had it also with Yar, where, you know, he was like, Picard, why are we doing this? Like, what is this funeral? Like, she's gone. And Picard is like, no, buddy, it's like, it's for us, you know? Mm-hmm. But asking these really taboo questions, you know, like, because I feel like I like have a hard time understanding why we use like euphemisms for like dead and died, which is interesting because Picard doesn't in this episode when he's talking to Jeremy. You know, he doesn't. He's like, your mother is dead. I know your father died too, you know, which is kind of taboo. Like, we don't do that. And I feel like when we talk on the air and I like talk about my dogs dying, I feel in my brain/body this like weird tension, because like my instinct is to be like, Rufio died, and I'm like, are people going to hear that as like callous, as like me not caring about my dog dying? Do I have to say passed away instead? in order to like make people understand that I care that he's gone, you know?
Yeah. Especially I feel like in the US, Americans have a deeply unhealthy relationship to death, which is sort of keeping it at arm's length in a way where it's like just I think really collectively bad for our psyche as an American people.
I agree.
And I guess I say this as someone who, I don't know, has thought about planning my funeral versus planning my wedding. I think that I will, again, not be at because I'll be dead. It's just, I'm kind of like, it's going to happen to us all. So it just feels weird to sort of pretend that that's not what is happening. And especially to kids where it's like, it's sort of like when you don't teach your kids about the like scientific anatomical names for their like body parts. It's like, it's like you have to use the words so that they know what is happening, and just trying to be like, grandma's gone to a better place is like, well, where is she? Is she at Disney World? That's a better place. Like, I'm like, it's not, it's just doing, I think, people a disservice to not just be straight up about really serious, important things,
Yeah.
Yeah. And this idea that's like, right, if you're just like, not like cavalier, but very like direct about being like, yeah, like so-and-so died. Like the idea that is somehow callous is just also just so fucking weird.
Yeah. I mean, I think euphemisms soften things. I think that they serve a social function for a lot of people. I don't think that is necessarily bad. Whatever. It doesn't matter. Also, can I just say, I love that Riker is just like, yes, this is my friend Data who has a hard time with things like this, and I will gladly take a minute to help him understand this question, this very reasonable question that he's asking me.
True disability allyship is what's happening here.
Yeah. Yeah, and then I just have a tiny bit. I mean, I guess a lot of the Picard stuff I feel like has been touched on, but he is also feeling very triggered about Jack Crusher's death here in a way that I think he isn't typically when he has to do this job as captain, because usually there is not a child left behind, it sounds like.
Yeah.
And so he's really going through it himself, and also sort of having to be captain on top of that. And I think that that's delivered really beautifully too. Like, everyone does such a good job. I don't know if we've said that. Like, the acting in this episode is really, really beautiful.
Yeah, I think especially, I feel like since we're getting a lot of the characters' feelings, everyone gets a little bit more room to flex their acting skills versus like, we're under attack, we're in a crisis. It's like, how does my character deal with grief? I feel like I'm not an actor, but that seems so meaty and rich to like be able to explore as an artist. I'm like,
yeah,
this is the shit you want to be doing in your lowish budget sci-fi show.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
but yeah,
agreed.
I think it is interesting the sort of way we see Picard a little bit lose it when he's like, this is why we shouldn't have kids aboard. This is so irresponsible, which I have a lot of feelings about also.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Yeah, we sort of see him come undone a little bit, I guess.
Yeah. But again, Picard, a master of understanding when and how to have feelings. He's like, okay, I am having big feelings right now. We are going to have these feelings in the turbo lift with the therapist, and then I'm going to get it together, and I'm going to go back about my day. I'm not going to take it out on anybody. Truly.
You love to see.
The fact that there is a single like manosphere person in this world who thinks that Star Trek is for them is baffling. Like,
and the idea that it's just like, oh, well, what would help you is going to therapy, which we literally see happen in multiple episodes, multiple times by like every main character ever.
Literally this episode, Worf is like, big feelings make me angry and I can't fight this feeling and I have to handle it alone and be stoic like Picard. And Troy is like, Picard talks to me, and Worf is like, oh great, can I talk to you too? Like,
I know, immediately he's like,
that is the best news I have heard in a week. Like, are you kidding me? Fantastic. Can we talk about grief right now?
Yeah, I feel like the meta-analysis of people assuming that, like, yeah, Picard is this, like, stoic captain dude. And I'm just like, he is so full of feelings, you guys. Like,
he's your captain. Like, he's not going to show that to you because he's like a responsible leader. He knows when and how to deal with his emotions. He talks to Guinan, he talks to Troy. Yeah. Sometimes he talks to Crusher when they're off the clock, you know? Yeah. Sometimes he talks to Riker, honestly, which is also great, but like in ways where it's like this is the container for this situation.
Exactly. Know? Yeah, he's just really, again, modeling great leadership because like don't take out your strong feelings on your employees.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Yeah. Someone tell Janeway. Anyway.
Oh, what a mess Janeway is.
Okay, are we done here?
I think we are done. 40 minutes later, we are done.
I know. Welcome to the holodeck, where we talk about visual stuff. And there is an image roundup for every episode. Click the link in the show notes if you want to look at it. And if you want those images to be right in the YouTube video / Patreon video, you got to join our Patreon so I can pay someone else to do that because I do not have time. I'm sorry. What do you have first?
I have Lieutenant Astor's off-duty outfit, which is so Midwest mom, it's like almost comical. Wait, I guess I should open this link to the screenshot that I have so I can describe it to y'all, because pretty sure I had to push past a lady wearing this exact outfit at Eastern Market this weekend.
Incredible.
All right, listeners, Lieutenant Astor's ghost / alien double is wearing a like neon fuchsia long sleeve tunic with a kind of dark, I can't tell if it's like a dark brown or like a dark gray, like woven vest.
It's like black and mauve.
Okay, yeah. And then like a matching pants that are the same sort of woven material, and her hairstyle is very Midwest bob. Blondish brown Midwest bob curled like a little bit below her ears. And yes, there are so many white ladies with this exact same haircut and style in the Midwest. And I think for once this might encompass the Midwest that is Iowa to Ohio / Pennsylvania, probably. Like a wide variety of Midwest areas have moms that look like this.
Yeah, I think the shirt, the modern version, is a little bit different. This is very 1990, like very 1990. But the vibe, I think, is, it's evergreen.
Also, the Midwest tends to be, in general, unless you're queer or a transplant, 10 to 15 years behind, like the coastal, whatever coastals are people in the coast are wearing.
Fair.
The Midwest gets it like 10 to 15 years later.
Yeah. Okay. My holodeck note is Giles' voice. Do you like my mask? Isn't it pretty? It raises the dead. So the alien ghost lady, she recreates their house, like the Jeremy and her, their house on Earth pre her joining the Enterprise. She's an archaeologist. Apparently that means her house simply must be full of cursed objects. Like clearly cursed objects.
Yeah. I did notice the mask and I'm just like, what is going on with that mask?
Okay, so listeners, there is a mask on the wall that basically it's like a Phantom of the Opera mask if it was like full face, but it's the same sort of like shape, like over the nose, like all white. And then it has horns like a steer and like a
kind of tuft hair situation.
Yeah, like a lion mane sort of out around it on a black background. But worse, Jesse, I'm sorry. I have to send this to you. Oh my God. Hang on. Do you want this in Signal or on the Zoom chat?
I'll do it in Signal. I'm sorry. What the fuck?
Right?
I'm really glad I didn't notice that because I was once again stoned when I did my first watch, and I was already like, what the fuck is happening?
You guys, it's behind her in like half of the shots in the second part, like when Picard is in her quarters. But it's really blurry, so it makes sense that you didn't see it. I had to hunt pretty hard to find a shot where it was like fully in view. And I kept like when it was blurry, I was like, am I hallucinating? Like, is this actually what is behind her? But it like 100% is. So listeners, okay, imagine
okay.
It kind of yes, please.
Okay, so it is some kind of wooden figure that has...
It's got like I feel like there are like feudal Japanese masks that kind of look like this, like the very, very scary, ancient Japan masks that you would see in a museum. But if you take that and you give it like cascading hair, a lolling tongue hanging out from its like gaping open mouth that is just top teeth, no bottom jaw.
Yeah, there's no bottom jaw. Those look like maybe like human teeth. Like they're giant teeth. Yeah. They're like an inch long.
Oh, this thing is as big as her.
Okay, those teeth are huge then. Like exposed, like above the teeth is just like kind of like a face bone. There's like not really there's like kind of a nose, but not really. It's like white. And then above that is just freestanding eyeballs that like has the iris and the whatever other part of the eye and the whites of your eye, but like no lid, no extra face part of this statue. So it's just like bulging eyes and teeth and tongue in a way that is definitely like, this is why this is a haunted house episode that is clearly cursed. You were already cursed before you got on the Enterprise.
If the aliens weren't there, his mom still would have come back as a ghost because this had previously been in his home. Yeah. This is the most cursed thing I have ever seen in my life. And I just have to reiterate, it has hair to the floor. And I think the thing that makes this the most upsetting is that it has a bow in its hair. Like a little bow right on the forehead, which just makes it, something about that is like what tips it over the edge for me, because it just makes it too human. Like the accessory just, I can't.
Yeah.
Please go look at it, listeners. #ruthless.com/thegaylyplanet. Patrons, just open your email. It'll be there. It's so disturbing. Yeah, it's just right here behind her for like a huge chunk of the episode. I'll include that in the show notes as well. So you can see it just like staring.
I gotta say, I bet you there was a GeoCities site where someone was like, let me talk about all the weird background shit in episodes of Star Trek The Next Generation. And once again, we are really bereft having lost so much of Web 2.0.
Yeah.
But if you have any idea to be like, yes, this is a real thing and not something terrifyingly cobbled together by the props department, please let us know.
Oh, yeah, I would love that. We got to move on. All right.
Move on.
Look, we spent like 5 minutes having fun, though, so that was great. Welcome to the Observation Lounge, where we talk about things that are fucked up.
All right. I think my biggest thing here is grappling with Picard being like, I don't think kids should be on starships. And I'm like, I know life has risks. And obviously it's cooler to be on a spaceship than to be on a planet. So maybe for some people that's a good calculation to make. I still feel like if you want your kid to survive to adulthood, not having them on a starship is a bad idea. I know for your career is probably really cool. Wait 10 years till your child is like a legal age and then go explore the galaxy. I don't know. I totally get like Astra being like, this is a great experience for us both, whatever. I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know.
It's interesting because like the alternative is either kids are not with their parents and then their parents die. You know, like, is it better for Jeremy if he's been living on Earth with his aunt and uncle because his mom wanted to be on the Enterprise and then she dies and he hasn't seen her in like a year? Is that actually better for him? Or you have to choose to not have kids if exploring space is your passion.
I guess I'm just like, and again, I think that the calculated risk of how cool being on like the Starship Enterprise is makes sense why there's like families on this ship. Like I totally get it. I guess for me, I'm like, I would look for a, like, what is a ship that is not going all across, having to be in the like neutral zone, you know? And I mean, again, this is like a calculation where it's like, I understand that it's going to vary person to person. And I also understand why Picard is like, this is why I like don't even think we should be doing this. And I'm kind of like, again, living life is risky. It's very risky. And it's not even just that like Jeremy's mom dies. He's then like has the trauma of this weird ghost trying to kidnap him, which I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I think the thing is that it's not like the Enterprise is a warship. Like, their purpose is exploration. And this is like, I personally would feel like a monster if I brought a child into this world. But like, whatever.
Yeah.
People
sorry. I think you meant into the world of Star Trek. I'm like, that seems like fine. You mean this world right now?
This world right now.
Fair.
But like, right, the Star Trek future, things are groovy, right? Like if you want a kid, you're bringing them into a really beautiful world. And like, if you are a super passionate scientist and it's like, this is the best way to be a scientist, like having to choose between getting to do the coolest possible archaeology and having a family seems like a shitty choice. Like, I think it's...
Yeah.
Like, I get that the Enterprise is the ship that's going to get called if there's, like, a big thing, right? Like, with the Romulans or whatever. But also, the reason that it has space for people to have their families on board is because it's, like, one of the big ships, you know? And also, it gets to do the coolest stuff. So, like...
Yeah. I mean, and I'm not saying that, like, I think this is a choice between, like, being on Earth and, like, not being on the Enterprise. I'm just like, there seems to be, and I'm sure, like, people choose a sort of wider middle ground of, like, I'm just going to do archaeology on, like, this planet in a stable solar system that are probably not going to get attacked by, like, the Ferengi or, like, whatever, you know?
Right. I guess I don't know, like, none of the smaller ships that we see have families on board, I guess, is what I'm thinking about. So it might be the case that like I think you have to be on a Galaxy class ship for there to physically be space for people to have their families with them. So if you're on a ship that's doing these really long range missions and you want to have like kids and a spouse who's not in Starfleet or whatever, like you have to be on a ship like the Enterprise, I think.
Yeah. I guess I'm just sort of like, it seems like the risk of your child being an orphan significantly higher. But, you know, again, like for some people that is worth it, you know.
I wouldn't do it personally, but I don't think it would be good to have a policy where it's like you can't have kids if you want to be in Starfleet, or like your kids have to stay at home if you want to be in Starfleet. And then it's like, okay, if you're working on the Enterprise and like, you know, you and your partner are accidentally make a baby, then like...
Yeah. Which I'm sure, again, also must happen unless everyone's getting unless everyone's getting like really good birth control shots or whatever futuristic birth control happens.
Right.
But yeah, I just feel like it seems like a pretty large risk if you have younger kids. Which, I mean, again, this happens all the time. People are, you can't control what's going to happen in the universe, obviously.
Yeah. That's my only thing here, too.
Okay, cool.
Welcome to Engineering, where we talk about science and research that we did.
First off, Jeremy, progressive ally, his cat Patches, who he refers to as he, is probably a girl because calico cats are nearly almost always female. So, trans cat alert. Always good to always good to see. And yeah, that's because of whatever the coat color for calicos is sex linked somehow. I don't know this whole science, but that's just a funny cat.
An X-linked trait.
Yes, thank you. And then lastly, so this is the first episode that was written by Ronald Moore, who goes on to write a bunch of episodes for both this show and DS9. He tried to work on Voyager. That didn't work out for him. He was like, fuck, you guys are too chaotic. Fuck this. And then goes on to make a bunch of other great sci-fi shows, including the Battlestar Galactica remake, which is a nearly perfect science fiction show, in my opinion. For All Mankind, which is a show on my to-watch list, which looks very alternative space history. And then also Outlander, which a show I will never watch, but is wildly popular. So this is sort of like sci-fi royalty. But when I was like, wait, that Ron Moore? I was like, holy shit.
That's cool.
Yeah, no, he's a sort of big sci-fi name, and and it now also makes sense why Battlestar Galactica is so good, because he spent years writing a much different vibe, people in space show.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, apparently, this was a spec script. He originally wanted it to be that Jeremy doesn't deal with his mom's death by just hanging out in the holodeck with a hologram of her.
Oh.
So
honestly, that would have made so much more sense than the middle of this episode.
Yeah, I don't know why everyone was like, let's just retool this to have it be aliens. And I'm like, are you sure? But
yeah, no, that would have made so much more sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that it?
That is it.
Hooray, we did it. All right. Thank you all so much for listening to this episode.
You could check the show notes for all of the many weird things that we've talked about, and also our screenshots.
Yes. And if you want more of the podcast, you can follow us on Instagram at #RuthlessPods. And I stopped saying we're on Blue Sky. It's a lie. And if you want more of me, and you can look at our website, #ruthless.com. What a good website. It's great. And join our Patreon, or join it for free. We post free stuff every once in a while also. That's patreon.com/#ruthless. Anyway, if you want more of me and you want to see the art that I make that's not for the podcast, I'm on Instagram at Melancholy Malarkey, and you can go to my website, melancholymalarkey.com.
If you want to see more about me, I honestly am not really on social media as much anymore. So you can find us in our Patreon Discord if you join Patreon. I do, in fact, post photos like my foster kittens, which are deeply adorable.
Hell yeah. All right. This show and all of our shows are produced, mixed, and edited by me. Jesse is the co-creative director and the Riker Data combo to my Picard. And when they are well again, Elise is our tedious taskmaster who takes care of many of the most tedious parts of making a podcast.
Thanks, Elise.
Yeah. And until next time.
To the beam up.